Now, that is a beautiful psalm. This is just a portion now of the longest psalm in the book, and it is praise of God's Torah. I don't know if you've been able to tell, but I really like ancient God talk, or theology, as we now call it now. Theos being God, logos being word, thought, principle, speech, theology. The Psalms are just another example that lights my heart. The ancient poetry was doing something that we, in our contemporary setting, often refuse to see. It was a means of describing the divine without boxing in the holy. It allowed for freedom by way of imagery, simile, metaphor. It allowed for the divine not to be static. It didn't assume fact or pretend to be an authority on God. It simply aspired to describe the ineffable one. More specifically, in this pericope, it describes the relationship between the psalmist and God. God as teacher, God as protector. There's a desire from the psalmist who penned this text to be in alignment, in right relationship with God. I will hold your words, the psalmist says. I will keep your laws. Show me the ropes, Holy One. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Make your face shine upon your servant. Fall fresh on me. There is a desire to understand the container. What makes up this space of keeping God's law, of living into what God has laid out? By the end, the psalmist is in tears. My eyes shed streams of tears because your law is not kept. Does that resonate with any of you? My eyes shed streams of tears because your law, O God, is not kept. My eyes shed streams of tears because of another instance of brutality from those who swore to protect and serve. My eyes shed streams of tears because corporate greed forces climbing temperatures, causing the extinction of hordes of plants and animals. My eyes shed streams of tears because migrants are being physically pushed back into the water to keep them out after a dangerous crossing. My eyes shed streams of tears. Now, I'm sure we can all think of multiple ways in which our hearts are broken by how we as a collective do not care for each other, by how we do not love our neighbor as ourself, by how we are not good stewards of what God has given us in the gift that is Mother Earth. But wait a minute. In keeping with our theme for this year, reclaim, reframe, repair, rebuild, let me reframe that. A couple of weekends ago, I presented at a festival in North Carolina called the Wild Goose Festival. Some of you were there. A colleague of mine, Shaban Colonel, presented as well that day on indigenous spirituality and the land back movement. Has anybody heard of the land back movement? From his indigenous spirituality lens, he told us that we've actually got it backwards. When I tell you it is important to listen to others, important to hear the spirituality of those who lived in spaces before the colonizers did, it is important to hear the perspective of those whose goal was not to profit from the earth, but to live sustainably with it. Shaban helped us realize that what we think that Mother Nature is taking care of us, not the other way around, how we usually hold it. We can see evidence of this by what's happening in our planet now when the earth isn't able to take care of us because of what we've done to it. So maybe we reframe here. Maybe our stewardship is really accountability. Maybe our goal is to be in right relationship with the earth. Perhaps the point is how we take care of the earth so that the earth can take care of us. So consider this in the context of our text today. Perhaps this is the law that we haven't been keeping. How heartbreaking indeed. In fact, let us reframe this entire psalm. Biblical scholar Kathleen Farmer notes that the Psalms are confessional in nature and in character, but the writers avoid mentioning their current situations and speak instead of typical human situations. We do that too sometimes, right? In our conversations with God. Perhaps you are talking to God about these other things so you don't have to mention the cancer. So you don't have to mention the loss. So you don't have to mention the heartbreak. So you don't have to heal from the anger and the bitterness and the self-righteousness. So you don't have to speak about what's bothering you. Do you trust God with the desires of your heart? Do you trust God to sit in the pain with you? What then do you say to God? God, the doctor said it's cancer. God, my mother is sick. God, I don't feel connected to you. God, how am I going to survive without enough money? God, I'm so stressed out that I am grinding my teeth to dust. God, I'm having panic attacks. God, this constant pain in my body is unbearable. Oh God, I am so overwhelmed. What are you asking of God? Are you letting God into your most private thoughts? Into the desires of your heart? Are you asking God to be present with you even in the parts that are a little messy, that aren't nice to look at, that feel most vulnerable? Or are you just asking God about other people? Fix them, God. Heal them, God. Help them, God. The flight attendants are right. You've got to put the mask on yourself before you can help anybody else. But Toni Cade Bambara wrote in her novel, The Salt Eaters, "Are you sure, sweetheart, that you want to be well? Just so's you're sure, sweetheart, and ready to be healed, because wholeness is no trifling matter. A lot of weight when you're well. Are you sure?" The psalmist in this ancient text was asking for closer relationship with God through laws and precepts, completely avoiding what had happened around them, the destruction of Judean monarchy, the exile, the loss. How close can God be if you don't let her in? God is always there. Always. But God is only as close as you allow. So, let us take a little time now to practice. Close your eyes, if you will. And think now of the secrets of your heart. In this space that is just you and God, what are the things that you haven't shared? What can you ask of God? Jesus gave us great examples. We spoke them earlier this morning. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us. Deliver us. Lead us. What can you ask of God? I'll give you now a couple minutes with your eyes closed to sit with God. Let God into this silence and into the places where you've barred off access to your heart. Go now and petition the divine. God, find us in our vulnerability. Amen. God is with you. Now, 2 minutes isn't nearly enough time, but prayerfully, it was enough to prime the pump. This week, may you continue this practice, and may it draw you closer and deeper into right relationship with the divine. May it be so.